The Arctic surf clam is an interesting species. It ranges from Rhode Island all the way to Labrador. But unfortunately, it's commercially important only in Canada, or Atlantic Canada, where it's about a $50 to $60 million fishery every year. It is a subtidal species. It lives anywhere between 50 feet to 150 feet. It's dredged by factory ships that haul these animals up, process them by steaming and then removing the foot from the animal, and then that foot is used as sushi. It turns a beautiful shade of orangish red, and it is highly prized by many Asian cultures. Most of the product that comes from the ocean floor off of Halifax and the Grand Banks goes to Japan and Korea. And so I've been working with a fellow named Chris Davis for a long time, who had an idea back in the 90s that this species might be interesting if it could be cultured, and that we could create some kind of a culture fishery for it here. So a long time passed between the time that Chris started to work on this and today, but for the last 5 or 6 years, the staff at DEI and myself, with some help from Chris and Sandra Shumway from the University of Connecticut, have been looking at how to culture this animal to try to create a new culture species and diversify the species that are under culture in Maine. What we're attempting to do, no one else has done before. And if you go to the field station or the DEI, you will see animals that are in culture that you will find nowhere else in the world, because no one else is doing this. We've been fortunate so far to be able to kind of crack the hatchery end of things, so that we can produce from broodstock larvae and juveniles basically when we want to throughout the year. We've been fortunate enough to look at the nursery phase and have seen what to do and what not to do to create animals that are ready for planting, which is somewhere around 10 to 15 millimeters in size. But we are still looking for that nugget that tells us, oh, if we do X in the field, we can grow these animals to a commercial size of 1.5 inches to 2 inches and sell them. And what we've been hampered by predation. In most of the plots and the units that we've put out to protect animals, we haven't done a really good job, or we haven't been able to get past the predation by things like green crabs or rock crabs or Jonah crabs or even lobsters. We've been growing these things in the lower intertidal, which is, again, no one's ever done that before, but it turns out here, at least in Washington County, where the tides drain off very, very far on the low, astronomically high tides and low tides, we can actually plant this animal and get it to grow, if we can protect it well enough, on those low intertidal areas. So ultimately the benefit will be that we have created a new species to culture, that it already has markets, both domestic and otherwise. But we're really interested in this one for a domestic market, because the animals that are harvested from Canada are in the 4 to 5 inch range, and those are 40 to maybe 50 years old. And so what we want to do is to produce an animal that's this size, and we can do it, it turns out, in about 2 to 3 years. So we just haven't done it in the quantities that are commercial at this point. It's going to be more of use that's a steamed, the whole clam is used for chowders, for frying, for actually it can be used in terms of just eating raw as well. We tried it out actually in a restaurant in Portland in October, and it was with a very limited clientele, and it only involved a few hundred animals, but it was a big hit.